Hello, welcome to Band Stuff. Please like and subscribe. Today we're in part 3 of our series on programming. First one we talked about knowing your band. Second video we talked about knowing your audience. And today we're going to cover 2 topics. One is know proper pacing, and number 4, know your plan. One of the biggest mistakes I see in any band program that I go to, even at Midwest, is proper pacing. I've seen some wonderful bands, some of the best high school bands you've ever seen, even university bands, even professional bands that, to me, do not know how to program. And sometimes I don't know what they're thinking because they have this tremendous band and yet they don't know how to pace a program that's interesting. And so I want to talk to you a few basic tips today about it so that maybe you don't make this same mistake with your band. When you think of the pacing of program, there's one word I think that can guide you very accurately when it concerns pacing, and that is the word mood. Just to think about the mood of the program that you want to have. And I think in a lot of ways, if you think about the mood of a program as relates to keeping an audience's attention, it's going to lean you towards more upbeat music with a dash of slow. And besides mood, there needs to be a mix of the familiar and the unfamiliar. So the length of your program might vary, but the general principle remains the same. Upbeat with a dash of slow, mix the familiar and the unfamiliar. So right now we'll go through a sample pacing of a show, kind of guide you a little bit, and of course it'll have to be modified for your particular situation. The pacing I provide is for a program that might be performed for a longer concert like you might have at Midwest. I think your first selection should be something that's shorter in nature, very upbeat. Maybe a march, maybe even something shorter than that, like a fanfare of some type to kind of get everybody's attention. Then secondly, while the audience is kind of still with you after that upbeat piece, go to something that's more slow, expressive, and emotional. And then third, you can do something that's on the faster side, but it's very rhythmic, which contrasts with your first song. Usually something with a kind of a Latin type mood to it. Fourth, you could have something kind of smooth and flowing, kind of an in-between tempo. It's not slow, it's not fast, but it contrasts with your slow piece because it's a little faster than that, and it contrasts with your rhythmic, possibly Latin type flavored piece in that it's more smooth and flowing. Then next would be a great time for a march. If you didn't start with a march, go with a march. And again, and obviously that's going to probably be something that's more rousing and up-tempo. And then next you could do some type of solo feature. One thing that I had a tradition of at the schools I taught was on our final concert, I would feature senior soloists. And this was always a nice contrast to the rest of the pieces that we're playing and add a lot of variety. And then to close out a concert of this type, you could close with something very light, usually some type of pop music arrangement, which is always a great way to end. And if it's not a pop music arrangement, it's something that a lot of people can relate to. And if it's something they're not familiar with, something that's still very, very exciting and pleasing to listen to close things out. And number 4, know your plan. I'm a real big believer in planning way ahead. There's a lot of discussion on Facebook and stuff about getting away from work and that kind of thing, and leaving work at work, and mental health and those kind of things, which obviously are important. But I always found the best thing for my mental health was to plan ahead and be very well prepared. And I really liked using downtime and time kind of that's away from work to do some of my best planning and thinking. During the day it was just always too hectic and wild for me to do any real thinking of real value when it comes to planning. And so I would work way ahead on your programming. I usually knew in the summertime what I was going to do all of the next year. And that was kind of part of my knowing the band and what they could do, knowing where I wanted them to go. And I'd pretty well plan out the whole year. And the reason that's so possible now is there's so many recordings available at music websites, whether it's YouTube or whatever. You can get a good grasp of great music out there that you want to do throughout the year. And so I got in the habit of finding almost everything I wanted. Of course, there'd be some tunes I couldn't quite put my finger on that I wanted, and I would wait. But I'd order most of my music in the summertime. I would prepare it. After March season, I would get it in their folders. For the rest of the year, I'd have all of their music in their concert folder. And that way, if we're working on concert assessment music and things are kind of paced in such a way that we're learning it quicker than I thought, or maybe they're getting tired of it a little bit and we need a break, then I'll pull out some of that music from the final concert, play particularly some of the pop tune arrangements that we've got to mix things up a little bit. But I'm a big believer in having that plan, knowing as much as I can in August, and getting all that music out as soon as I can. And I think this kind of comes from when I was in high school. When I was in high school, one of the pet peeves I had is we seemed to do so much just sight reading, trying to figure out what we're going to play. And inevitably, we were not as prepared at concert contest as we should have been, because we spent so much time with him figuring out what we were going to do and playing things and going through them and all this kind of stuff. And I'm a big believer of knowing exactly what I want them to do when I hand that music out, and then be ready to make some adjustments if I need to. But I knew my band well enough to know what we could do and what we can't do and where I wanted them to go, that I could get a lot of that music out really soon. So know your plan, get on it as soon as you can, and get that music out to them. Okay, thank you for watching this video. Our next video will be knowing the dangers of programming. Yes, there are some dangers in programming. And then also we're going to talk about knowing the literature, which I think can be really helpful for you. Thanks for watching today.